So this morning I was out picking up something to eat, and I usually do a giant square when I'm going out to look for something to eat that starts at Slotsky's, and I go down the street and I look at Burger King, and then I turn and I stopped at Subway for some unknown reason. I think that we all have this sort of nostalgia that keeps driving us back to places where the food used to taste good. Like, I remember enjoying Taco Bell. I remember enjoying McDonald's and especially Burger King when I was a child. But the overall quality of our food tastes nothing like it used to. In every category of food, everything tastes different. And when I got back to my office and I sat down and I took that first bite of Subway today, and I said to myself, oh my God, I can't believe I spent $15 for a foot long sandwich that tastes like Choco Taco. It made me realize that we keep doing this to ourselves over and over again. And we know that the giant corporations understand that we have to buy food. And every time they lower the quality of the food, it's not like we don't know that the quality of the food has been lowered. We do, because we can taste it. We have memories. We understand that for some reason our food doesn't taste good anymore. No matter what you do, food doesn't taste good. And I'm not crazy. This is the same thing that can be said about employment. Our employment doesn't feel good anymore. We're all scared of losing our jobs. Every single day, we're afraid of losing our jobs. No one has job security in our society. And the way that the system has been redone, no one is going to retire. If you're making $15 to $20 an hour, the system is not set up for you to retire. Remember, if you need to know what you're going to get from Social Security, just go to AARP and look at how much they expect you to be putting into the system so that you have the highest level of Social Security if you ever get there. Because it seems like by the time most of us get there, the age to retire is going to be raised to 1,000. And therefore, even if you were to put a lot of money, what you can extract from the system at the end may not be what you need to live. There are plenty of senior citizens right now that are experiencing life at the very miserable edge of it because what they're getting paid out every month doesn't cover their bills, doesn't cover their food. And if it wasn't for their children helping them out, chances are they'd be rushed into the pine box community as quickly as humanly possible. But getting into today's video, I am going to be talking about the definition of skimpflation, examples across industries, customer loyalty and trust, and skimpflation as a cost saving strategy. It's not like corporations aren't making a lot of money. In fact, record profits are very normal for any evil corp right now. What they're doing is they're seeing how far they can push us with a low quality, smaller sizes, and overall giving us the middle finger as consumers because we don't fight back. We all know this, that even if we get a 30-cent raise after working in the same place for a long time, our only chance of getting a significant increase in a quality of life is going to be through finding another job. Every year to 2 years, you have to change jobs or else they're not going to pay you more. They're seeing how much you'll take, and guess what? They'd much rather hire someone at entry level rather than giving a senior level employee like myself more money. I mean, the things that they had me doing today at my job were completely unrelated to one another. 1 minute, I'm in a server room. The next minute, I'm fixing a computer in a lab. The next minute, I'm in another area that's having problems with the air conditioning. At the same time, I'm dealing with a cleaning service. And meanwhile, I'm preparing for a large conference to come into the valley of of out of state employees. And so I've got I've got to juggle all of these things around while at the same time dealing with network, server, and hardware problems. This is the very definition of using a person to the max. But with that said, let's get into today's first talking point. Skimpflation occurs when companies maintain the same price for a product or service but reduce its quality using cheaper ingredients or cutting back on features, hoping that consumers won't notice. So, this is referring to a product. I'm going to say this is the same thing that they've done with jobs. They've reduced the overall quality, they're using cheaper labor. They're cutting back on benefits, cutting back on vacation, cutting back on sick leave, cutting back on raises, cutting back on equipment, cutting back on people. Remember, do more with less. That means you have an idiot like Millennial Stain doing the job of an entire team by himself at an office location. Not only that, but they're also going to shuffle me around to other office locations as necessary. And I didn't feel this like truly being used to the bone until I was sitting in the server room and I was tracing out cables to ports that were for some reason just stopped working. And I'm like, why am I in here? I mean, it's hot as hell in here and I have my regular job to do, but I'm in here because they've cut back on so much. I mean, they got rid of the janitors. I mean, how bold is that? So if something goes wrong during the day, you have to take it upon yourself to go unclog the toilet because Susie Rottencrotch is constipated and no one's going to use a bathroom until someone fixes it. So guess who's going to go there to the rescue? The technology guy, because he's the closest thing you have to a plumber, to a maintenance guy, to a guy that's it becomes necessary for him to do everything. I mean, I've never worked for a company that was this cheap. And when you're talking about cheaper ingredients or cutting back on size, I mean, the last time I ate at Rubio's was a few months ago. And I was sitting there eating with a person and she stopped and she said, "How did you enjoy your meal?" And I looked at her and I said, "This is half the size. It's all rice and I can barely taste the meat inside of this so-called burrito." And while I was saying this to her, I was looking directly at the manager of the restaurant and he's just looking at me like, "Other customers can hear you. You're saying out loud what we're doing to the person sitting in front of you while looking at me," because they know. And I don't think the restaurant industry is going to survive this low quality uh, effort to keep themselves alive. Everywhere that Mello and I have eaten for the past few months, it's cheaper, it's smaller, and it's more expensive. Like we went out to eat at the Olive Garden the other day, and I just looked at my pathetic meal that is at least 33% smaller than the last time I was there. And the overall quality is 100% lower. It felt like microwave food. All right, so let's move on to talking point number two. Skimflation isn't limited to food products. It can be seen in everything from hotel providing fewer amenities to airlines offering lower quality in flight services. This is what we've gotten used to, people. Lower quality of life in everything from your promobile to your cell phone to your internet, even lower quality relationships. You know, this isn't the one that people normally talk about, but our relationships with other people have diminished dramatically. By the way, if I have to run off from this video, it's almost at 10 minutes, but who knows what might happen. So if you hear something in the background, I have to sign off real quick. I'm just letting you guys know that could happen. So, limited food products, when you go anywhere, your overall experience in society is you do feel the fewer amenities. There used to be things that were included in everything that we do that just aren't there anymore. In fact, I was at a different gym 2 weeks ago, and in order to be able to use the swimming pool at the gym, you had to pay for a higher service. You had to have a higher tier of membership. And I feel like that's what they've done with everything. Everything's become a subscription. I mean, your Adobe's a subscription, your Microsoft Office is a subscription, my chiropractor is a subscription, my physical therapist is a subscription. Obviously, your gym's a subscription. I mean, they took away YouTube with if you don't watch the ads, YouTube will come up and block you from being able to watch any videos. So they forced me into a paid premium service. And I'm like, you know what? The ads aren't enough. They want everyone paying a premium. And I've said this for many years now. Eventually, just having access to the grocery store is going to become a subscription. Because in order to keep the people you want out of your business, because they're not people who have money, you're going to go to a Costco or a Sam's Club for everything. Or, as some people have said in the comments, they're not going to let you in the store. They're going to go to a curbside pickup, and they're already setting us up for it. We've all seen the parking spots right next to the front door for store side pickup. They usually make up the best spots. Restaurants do the same thing. Eventually, every restaurant's going to become a subscription, or they're just going to be phased out. There are about a dozen restaurants just within walking distance of my house that just have never come back. They closed their doors, they changed names, but they're just not the same. And these places know that people are noticing the lower quality of the amenities. Sometimes when I walk into these restaurants, like today, I walked into Subway and there was just one person working there. When I walk into this restaurant, the Mediterranean restaurant across the street, there's usually just the owner working there. When I walk to the smoothie place from there, there's just one person working there. And again, the fewer amenities, we can feel it in everyday life. Talking point number three. Companies rely on consumer trust, loyalty, while subtly lowering quality, which can feel like a quiet betrayal when customers expect consistency. This is what I'm going to say about a Kroger's or any other store. We used to be able to go to the grocery store and it would be fully serviced with cashiers. And how we know that this isn't something that we're just remembering, like the what's it called? Oh gosh, the Mandel. Oh, I can't even think of it. I'm sorry, guys. I am completely fried from work. So we all have that. God, I wish I could. I'm literally drawing a blank right now. The Mandela effect, right? That's what I was trying to come up with. So we all have this Mandela effect, and where people tell us things like the Monopoly guy used to have a monocle. I assure you guys, he did have a monocle. I clearly have childhood memories that when they created Monopoly, he had a monocle. Just because they took it away doesn't mean it didn't happen. Just like with all the registers at the grocery store, there used to be a person working at every single one, but they've slowly diminished the overall quality of your grocery store experience by making you go to a self checkout, even when you have an entire cartload, which, again, most people aren't buying that much food because it's overpriced and people can't afford to buy food in bulk anymore. Part of every Friday of my childhood memories was going to the store and filling the cart all the way up to the top every week. I don't see that. I've never experienced that. There's a reason why I don't have a Costco or Sam's Club membership, because I've lived alone my entire life and I've been alone my entire life. But the overall customer service that we expect to get in any place, restaurants, rude servers, low quality service, people are generally pissed off at their jobs right now, especially when they're public facing. People don't want to go to those jobs, but sometimes you don't have a choice. Today, when I was talking to Mela, who was working at a Kroger's, I mean, I could just tell that she was just beaten to crap from the job. And you walk up to a person that's that overworked and beaten and tired, you're gonna look at them and they're gonna look empty. Their eyes look hollow because not only are they working really hard, but they're getting practically nothing for it. And this, of course, causes customer service to be reduced to the point where they don't want to talk to you. Let's get to our final talking point. Companies often resort to skimpflation to deal with rising costs due to inflation, preferring to cut corners rather than risk losing customers by raising prices. So you're going to cut corners on everything: customer service, quality, size, taste. I mean, everything. And then you wonder why your customers are upset at the much lower quality of everything. Like, I walk into the store all the time and I think to myself, that doesn't taste good. That doesn't taste good. That tastes different. That tastes different. Why am I going to pay three times more for a product that I'm not going to enjoy eating? I literally put back food the other day. I was checking out at the Kroger's and I looked in my basket and I thought, you know what? I really don't like the taste of this. I don't like the taste of this. And I don't like the taste of this. In fact, the only thing I left with was my Pro beer because everything wasn't worth it to me. Today, the only thing I bought with my Pro beer was potatoes so that I could roast them in the morning before work. That's it. I bought three potatoes worth of food today. And that's it. I mean, it's just not worth it to spend your money on overpriced meat, overpriced vegetables, everything in the store. Even the cost of Pro beer is going up. And I and last week they did a great scare tactic on us where the dock workers went on strike and suddenly every time there's a disruption to the supply lines, oh, it's time to gouge the proles yet again. And within less than 3 days, they made those dock workers go back to work with probably unrealistic expectations. But again, it comes down to it's an election month. I mean, we're less than 30 days away from getting one flavor of I don't even know what to call them. Neither this is feeling so much like the 2016 election that I'm not even sure how to say anything differently. Except back then we didn't know how terrible the next 4 years were going to be. And we're going to come back to that nostalgia that I keep talking about. Some people believe it was the greatest time ever. I remember being unemployed most of the time that he was in office. In fact, I was unemployed for 678 days. Not because I wanted to be, but simply because there was no job that paid any better. And that's our choice in this world right now. Everything is about accepting the overall low quality of everything around us. And not talking about it doesn't mean it's going to go away. In fact, I just had a person that I know apply to graduate school, and I told him it's not worth it. Right now is not the time. If you've been a minimum wage worker for your entire adult life with just a bachelor's degree, that $50,000 graduate degree, the MBA, is not going to substantially increase your overall quality of life. It is going to cause you to go into a mountain of debt that you may never be able to pay back because that's where I'm at right now. All the education in the world didn't save me from my dead end job. In fact, I think it guaranteed that I would end up here. All right, so in toxic positivity, I'm just going to say that when you walk into a grocery store and you look at something and you think to yourself, is my memory faulty? That's kind of what I ask myself. It's I think back to my teenage self and I remember people work doing the same job that I'm doing right now and how much better their lives were than my own. These people weren't worrying about paying the rent. They weren't worrying about whether or not they were going to be laid off or just fired for some random thing. People back then had work job security. And right now, we're all working scared. Our overall life doesn't have much meaning. I just read a comment where a person said that in 168 hours a week, they have 4 to 6 hours of free time to spend with people that they want to be with. I busted my hump all weekend long between the gym and making videos, so I wouldn't have to be making a video right now. I I didn't have a moment. It feels like Friday just merged into Monday. Like I can blink my eyes and be like, "What did you do this weekend?" I worked. That's all we ever do is we just work. And then we tell ourselves that it's necessary because it is. We have to work. It's all we do. It's not like we're going to someday wake up and suddenly we're going to have a dream job that we only have to go to 1 hour, 1 day a week. Remember, I'm an advocate for the 1 day, 1 hour work week, but it's never going to happen because there's too much greed. The empathy virus needs to be released as soon as possible because otherwise, we're all stuck in this living nightmare dystopian reality that we call our lives.